Behind Willie Nelson's legendary career lies a family torn by tragedy, addiction, and shocking discoveries that most fans never knew existed. From a son's Christmas Day suicide that haunted the red-headed stranger forever, to a secret daughter discovered just years before her death, after children battling cocaine addiction in exclusive Texas high schools, the Nelson family story reveals heartbreak that goes far deeper than any country song. Here's what really happened to Willie Nelson's 8 children. Renee Butts, 1953-2017. In 2012, at the age of 79, Willie Nelson made a discovery that would reshape his understanding of his own family. Through his autobiography, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die, the country music legend revealed that he had fathered a daughter he never knew existed, a woman named Renee, who had been living her entire life just hours away from him in Houston, Texas. Renee Butts was born on January 22, 1953, making her Willie's oldest child, though he wouldn't learn this fact until she was nearly 60 years old. Her mother was Mary Haney, described by Willie as an old, dear friend with whom he had lost touch over the decades. The circumstances of Renee's conception and the reasons why Willie remained unaware of her existence for so long have largely remained private. But what's clear is that Mary Haney raised their daughter without Willie's knowledge or involvement. For 59 years, Renee lived a quiet life in the Houston area, working as a graphic designer and building a family of her own. In 1976, she married Joel Butts, and together they made their home near Houston, where Renee pursued her career in graphic design. She had built a complete life, raising a daughter named Noelle, who would later give birth to a daughter named Jordan, making Willie not just a newly discovered grandfather, but also a great-grandfather when the family secret finally came to light. The revelation came when Mary Haney reconnected with Willie after decades of no contact. In his memoir, Willie wrote about this extraordinary moment. "I have an old, dear friend, Mary Haney, who I'd lost touch with but recently met again after decades. Turns out Mary and I had a child together called Renee. It also turns out Renee has a daughter, Noelle, who has a daughter, Jordan, who I am happy to now call my great-granddaughter." Willie embraced this newly discovered branch of his family tree with characteristic openness, expressing joy at learning about these relatives he never knew he had. He noted in his autobiography that his wife, Annie D'Angelo, was also thrilled by the discovery and welcomed the new family members. Willie spoke about the possibility of spending their first Christmas together as an expanded family, saying, "My newly discovered family sure took some time to surface." Despite the late discovery of their relationship, Renee and Willie appeared to develop a meaningful connection during the brief time they had together. In 2016, Renee shared a heartfelt Facebook post celebrating Father's Day, posting a photo of herself with Willie and writing, "This is also my dad and I love him so much. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I know I'm a really lucky girl to have 2 of the finest men in this world be dads to me." This message suggested that Renee had maintained close relationships with both Willie and her stepfather, who had raised her. Tragically, Willie's time with his newly discovered daughter would prove to be heartbreakingly brief. In August of 2017, just 5 years after learning of her existence, Renee Butts died at the age of 64. She was survived by her husband Joel, her daughter Noelle, and her granddaughter Jordan, along with Willie and her 7 half-siblings in the Nelson family. Lana Nelson Fowler, born 1953. Lana Nelson, born on November 11, 1953, holds the distinction of being Willie Nelson's eldest known child and his first daughter with his first wife, Martha Matthews. While she chose a creative path like many of her siblings, Lana's life would be marked by both professional success in the film industry and personal struggles that would eventually require her famous father's direct intervention. Unlike her siblings who gravitated toward music, Lana found her calling in the world of costume design, building a career that would eventually intersect with her father's work in Hollywood. Her most notable professional collaboration with Willie came in 1986, when she served as the costume designer for his film Red-Headed Stranger, which was based on his 1975 concept album of the same name. This project allowed her to combine her creative talents with her father's artistic vision, creating a unique professional bond between them. Lana's personal life began with promise when she married for the first time and had 2 sons. However, this first marriage would take a dark turn that revealed both the dangers she faced and the protective nature of her father. According to Willie himself, Lana's first husband developed serious anger management problems that he took out on her through physical violence. The situation became so severe that it eventually came to Willie's attention, and his response was swift and decisive. In his characteristic direct manner, Willie later recounted his intervention. "So I went over there and slapped him around a little bit." This confrontation demonstrated Willie's fierce protective instincts toward his children, showing that despite his often absent touring schedule, he would not tolerate anyone harming his family. The incident also revealed the serious nature of the domestic violence Lana was experiencing, which had escalated to the point where her father felt compelled to physically intervene. Following the end of her abusive first marriage, Lana's life took a much more positive turn. In June of 1976, she married George Fowler in a wedding ceremony that became memorable for reasons beyond the typical father-daughter moments. Willie was traveling from Houston to attend the ceremony, but bad weather delayed his arrival, causing him to miss the scheduled start time. Rather than proceed without him, Lana and George made the unusual decision to hold their reception first and postpone the actual ceremony until Willie could be there to walk his daughter down the aisle. When Willie finally arrived, he not only fulfilled his role as father of the bride, but also provided the musical entertainment for the ceremony, performing Hands on the Wheel as he walked Lana down the aisle. This moment highlighted the special bond between father and daughter, and Lana's determination to have Willie present for one of the most important days of her life, despite his demanding career schedule. Lana's second marriage proved to be much happier and more stable than her first. With George Fowler, she went on to have 2 more children, a daughter named Rachel and a son named Brian, bringing her total to 4 children. She has remained largely out of the public spotlight compared to some of her siblings, preferring to focus on her family and her work behind the scenes in the film industry. In 2015, Lana shared her feelings about her father in a heartfelt tribute posted on his website, writing, "My dear father is a sweet, mellow, loving man that makes me light up inside when I look into his eyes. He has been an inspiration and a role model, teaching me the most important lessons of my life." Susie Nelson, born 1956. Susie Nelson, born on May 23, 1956, would endure some of the most challenging personal struggles among Willie Nelson's children before ultimately transforming her pain into purpose through an extraordinary journey of self-discovery and service to others. As Willie's second daughter, with his first wife Martha Matthews, Susie faced the complexities of growing up as the child of an increasingly famous musician, while dealing with her own serious personal demons. During her teenage years, Susie developed a significant drug addiction that would become one of several major obstacles she would need to overcome. This struggle with substance abuse was compounded by the typical challenges of adolescence and the unique pressures that came with being Willie Nelson's daughter during the height of his career. The combination of these factors created a turbulent period in her young life that would have lasting effects. As Susie moved into adulthood, her personal struggles continued to mount. She experienced the pain of divorce and then the devastating loss of her first husband, leaving her widowed at a relatively young age. These experiences of loss and heartbreak occurred during a period when she was still working to overcome the addiction issues that had plagued her teenage years. However, rather than allowing these setbacks to define her future, Susie made a remarkable decision that would set her life on an entirely new trajectory. At the age of 27, Susie made the extraordinary choice to return to school to earn her high school diploma, something she had not completed during her turbulent teenage years. This decision required tremendous courage and determination, as she was starting over academically at an age when most people are well into their careers. Her commitment to education represented a turning point in her life and demonstrated her resolve to build a better future for herself. Following her educational achievement, Susie embarked on a unique mission that would define much of her adult life. Drawing on her half-Cherokee heritage, which she inherited from Willie's side of the family, she began traveling to indigenous reservations across the United States and Canada. For several years, she dedicated herself to entertaining and inspiring residents of these reservations through music and storytelling, using her talents to bring joy and connection to communities that often face significant challenges. This work on the reservations represented more than just a career choice for Susie. It became a calling that allowed her to honor her heritage while using her personal experiences of struggle and recovery to help others. Her ability to connect with people through both music and storytelling made her a welcome presence in these communities, and this period of her life provided her with a sense of purpose that had been missing during her earlier struggles. In 1987, Susie took on perhaps her most challenging and revealing project when she published Heart-Worn Memories, a daughter's personal biography of Willie Nelson. This book was notable for its unflinching honesty about both her father and herself, providing readers with an intimate look at the reality of life in the Nelson family. When Willie heard rumors that the book might be a harsh tell-all in the style of Mommy Dearest, he asked to read it before publication. Susie assured him by saying, "It's true, but it's not a Daddy Dearest." In the book, Susie didn't spare herself from criticism, describing her role in the family as that of a snitch, a tattletale, and a bitch, acknowledging that while she wanted to be closer to her father, she was often unintentionally inconsiderate of him. The same year the book was published, she married writer and editor Bob Rosenbaum, who had served as her mentor during the writing process. Willie Nelson, 1958-1991. William Hugh Nelson Jr., known as Billy, was born on May 12, 1958. As Willie Nelson's first son and third child with his first wife Martha Matthews, Billy's life would be marked by a deep love of music that he shared with his father, but also by personal struggles that would ultimately lead to a tragedy that Willie would later describe as the most devastating experience of his entire life. Like many of Willie's children, Billy inherited his father's musical talents and passion for songwriting. He was particularly drawn to gospel music and worked closely with Willie on various musical projects throughout his life. The father and son shared a special bond through their music, and Willie often spoke proudly of Billy's songwriting abilities and his potential as a performer. Billy had written songs including Family Bible and In God's Eyes, and Willie was impressed by the quality of his son's work. Billy's personal life included marriage to Janet Caldwell, who worked as a radio promotion representative in Nashville's music industry. The couple settled in Music City and had a daughter named Ray Lynn, who would later follow the family musical tradition. For a time, Billy seemed to be building a stable life with his growing family while pursuing his musical aspirations alongside his famous father. However, Billy's life began to unravel during the late 1980s when he faced a series of devastating personal losses and setbacks that would prove overwhelming. In December of 1989, during the Christmas season, his mother, Martha Matthews, passed away. This loss hit Billy particularly hard, as he had maintained a close relationship with his mother despite his parents' divorce years earlier. The timing of her death during what should have been a joyful holiday season created painful associations that would haunt Billy in the years that followed. Around the same time as his mother's death, Billy's marriage to Janet Caldwell began to fall apart, and the couple separated. The divorce proceedings resulted in Janet gaining full custody of their daughter, Ray Lynn, which meant Billy lost regular contact with his child during an already difficult period in his life. This separation from his daughter compounded his grief and contributed to his declining mental state. As Billy struggled to cope with these losses, he turned increasingly to alcohol as a way to numb his pain. His drinking problem became severe enough that he was arrested multiple times on charges of driving under the influence. By 1990, it was clear that Billy needed professional help, and he entered a 30-day treatment program for alcohol abuse. Those close to him hoped that this intervention would mark a turning point in his life. During this period, Billy and Willie were collaborating on a gospel-inspired album that held special meaning for both of them. They worked together on songs that reflected Billy's faith and his struggles, including a duet called "My Body's Just a Suitcase for My Soul." This project represented both Billy's artistic potential and his attempt to find meaning and healing through music. Despite the treatment and his musical work with Willie, Billy continued to struggle with depression and alcohol abuse. On Christmas Day of 1991, just 2 years after his mother's death, Billy was found dead in his log cabin home in Davidson County, Tennessee. The 33-year-old had died by suicide, hanging himself with a cord. When his body was discovered, investigators determined that he had been legally drunk at the time of his death, indicating that alcohol had played a role in his final moments. Willie was devastated by the loss of his first son, later saying, "I've never experienced anything so devastating in my life." Paula Nelson, born 1969. Paula Carleen Nelson was born on October 27, 1969, under circumstances that would immediately create scandal and upheaval in Willie Nelson's personal life. At the time of Paula's birth, Willie was married to his second wife, Shirley Colley, a rockabilly singer. But Paula's mother was Connie Kepka, a woman Willie had met at one of his Houston shows and with whom he was having an affair. The secret of Paula's existence and Willie's infidelity remained hidden until 1971, when Shirley Colley made a devastating discovery. While going through household papers, she found a hospital bill from a Houston maternity ward that was charged to Willie Nelson and Connie Kepke for Paula's birth. When confronted with this evidence, Willie could no longer maintain his deception. As he later wrote in his memoir, "I tried to play it off as no big deal. I told her that I had to go to the hospital for something minor. Shirley wasn't buying that. I was caught flat-footed. Had to get the words out of my mouth. Connie's my girlfriend, and Paula's our daughter." This revelation destroyed Willie's marriage to Shirley Colley, and they divorced that same year. Willie then married Connie Kepke, legitimizing his relationship with Paula's mother and bringing Paula into his official family structure. Paula was named after Willie's best friend, the late Paul English, showing the importance Willie placed on this relationship despite the complicated circumstances of her birth. Paula spent her early childhood in Colorado, where the family lived in Conifer and Upper Bear Creek near Evergreen. However, when Paula was 16 years old, the family moved to Austin, Texas, where she enrolled at Westlake High School, one of the most prestigious and academically competitive schools in the state. This transition would prove to be extremely challenging for Paula, who found herself struggling with the pressures of being Willie Nelson's daughter in Texas, where his fame carried much more weight than it had in Colorado. Paula later described this period of her life in stark terms, telling the Austin Chronicle, "It was tough going to Westlake. I was 16 and had been living in Colorado since grade school, where it didn't matter, but to be Willie Nelson's daughter in Texas was huge. The pressure of living up to expectations and dealing with the constant attention that came with her father's fame led Paula down a dangerous path during her high school years. By her 12th grade year, Paula had developed a serious cocaine addiction that was spiraling out of control. She later admitted, "By 12th grade, I was doing a lot of coke. Anything I could get my hands on, really. Adolescent anxiety. I became tired. Tired of the scene, tired of everything." The combination of teenage stress, the pressures of her father's celebrity, and her own personal struggles had led her to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. Recognizing that Paula needed immediate help, her mother Connie arranged for her to enter a drug rehabilitation facility in San Diego, California, during her senior year of high school. This intervention likely saved Paula's life, but it also meant that she would not graduate with her class in the traditional manner. However, while in treatment, Paula was able to complete correspondence courses that allowed her to earn her high school diploma, making her the first person in the Nelson family to achieve this educational milestone. Following her recovery, Paula channeled her experiences into building a successful career in country music, becoming a respected artist and radio host who has openly discussed her journey through addiction and recovery. Amy Lee Nelson. Born 1973. Amy Lee Nelson was born on July 6, 1973, as the second daughter of Willie Nelson and Connie Kupke. Unlike many of her siblings who pursued traditional country music careers or sought the spotlight that came with their father's fame, Amy chose a distinctly different path that would lead her into animal rights activism, documentary filmmaking, and an unconventional musical partnership that reflects her independent spirit. Amy's musical career took an unexpected turn when she formed the folk duo Folk Uke with Kathy Guthrie, who is the daughter of legendary folk singer Arlo Guthrie. This partnership created a unique musical legacy connection, bringing together the daughters of two iconic American musicians from different generations and genres. Folk Uke represents Amy's approach to music, which has been more experimental and alternative compared to the mainstream country sound associated with the Nelson family name. The collaboration between Amy and Kathy Guthrie proved to be more than just a musical partnership between two famous daughters. Their fathers, Willie Nelson and Arlo Guthrie, have both appeared on Folk Uke's recordings, creating multi-generational musical collaborations that highlight the ongoing influence of both musical families. This cross-pollination of folk and country traditions through the daughters' work represents a unique chapter in American music history. Beyond her musical pursuits, Amy has established herself as a documentary filmmaker, taking on projects that reflect her personal interests and values. One of her most notable directorial efforts was the 2016 documentary Lovey, King of the Roadies, which explored the world of music industry professionals who work behind the scenes. She also captured footage for Kinky Friedman's Resurrection music video, demonstrating her skills behind the camera, as well as her connections within the broader music community. Amy's most significant and ongoing work involves her dedication to animal rights and rescue efforts. She serves as a key figure in running Willie's Kids, which is the Nelson family's non-profit organization dedicated to animal welfare. This organization focuses particularly on horse rescue operations, working to save horses from slaughter and providing them with safe, caring environments. The work reflects Amy's deep commitment to animal welfare and represents a cause that has become central to her adult life. The horse rescue work that Amy leads through Willie's Kids addresses a serious issue in the United States, where thousands of horses face potential slaughter each year. Through this organization, Amy has been able to combine her passion for animal welfare with practical action, creating a meaningful impact that extends far beyond the entertainment industry. Her work in this area has earned respect from animal rights advocates and has provided her with a sense of purpose that goes beyond her family's musical legacy. Amy has also appeared alongside her father in various documentary projects, including the 2012 film Saving America's Horses: A Nation Betrayed, which dealt with issues related to horse welfare and slaughter prevention. This appearance demonstrated her willingness to use her platform and family connections to advocate for causes she believes in, particularly when they align with her animal rights work. In November of 2023, Amy shared a personal moment on social media when she posted a photo of herself and Willie posing with former First Lady Rosalind Carter, whom she honored after Carter's death, with the simple caption, "Rosalind Forever." This post revealed Amy's connections to political and social figures beyond the music world. Lucas Nelson, born 1988. Lucas Autry Nelson was born on Christmas Day, December 25, 1988, as the first child of Willie Nelson and his fourth wife, Annie D'Angelo. Growing up between Texas and Hawaii, Lucas would eventually achieve a level of success that would earn him recognition not just as Willie Nelson's son, but as a Grammy-winning artist whose talents would catch the attention of Hollywood and lead to one of the most remarkable father-son achievements in music history. Lucas showed an early aptitude for music, writing his first song at the age of 11 and joining Willie's band as a guitarist by the time he was 13. He formed his own band, Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real, in January of 2009, and they began touring extensively, performing around 250 shows per year. Their dedication to live performance and Lucas's songwriting abilities eventually caught the attention of legendary rock musician Neil Young, who took Promise of the Real on as his backing band approximately 7 years after they formed. The connection with Neil Young would prove to be life-changing for Lucas, though not in ways he could have anticipated. In October of 2016, Lucas was performing with Neil Young at the Desert Trip Festival when actor and director Bradley Cooper was in the audience. Cooper, who was a devoted Neil Young fan, was immediately struck by Lucas's stage presence, guitar playing, and overall musical authenticity. This chance encounter would lead to an opportunity that would transform Lucas's career and contribute to one of the biggest films of 2018. Cooper was in the early stages of developing his directorial debut, a remake of A Star is Born, and he had been searching for the right musical inspiration for his character, Jackson Maine. After seeing Lucas perform, Cooper knew he had found what he was looking for. Cooper approached Lucas about serving as a musical consultant for the film, and their collaboration quickly expanded as Cooper began studying Lucas's every movement on stage, from how he held his guitar to his stage presence and interaction with the audience. What started as a consultation role evolved into something much more significant. Lucas began writing songs specifically for the movie and eventually co-wrote and produced 9 tracks for the soundtrack, making him the single largest musical contributor to the project. When Lady Gaga joined the film, Lucas immediately clicked with her creatively, and together they wrote most of the songs that would appear in the movie. Lucas and his band also appeared in the film as Cooper's character's backing band, making them an integral part of the movie's authenticity. The A Star is Born soundtrack became a massive commercial and critical success, and Lucas's contributions were recognized at the highest level of the music industry. At the 2019 Grammy Awards, Lucas won the Grammy for Best Compilation Soundtrack for Visual Media for his work on the film. In a remarkable coincidence, Willie Nelson also won a Grammy that same night for his 10th career Grammy Award, making them one of the very few father-son pairs to win Grammy Awards on the same evening. Lucas reflected on this extraordinary moment on social media, writing, "Already so humbled to have won a Grammy tonight, but it's a crazy world to be able to win the same night as my dad. A rare honor shared only with a few other incredible fathers and sons. So grateful to be a part of his legacy and watch it continue to grow." Micah Nelson, born 1990. Jacob Micah Nelson was born on May 24, 1990, as Willie Nelson's youngest son and second child with his fourth wife, Annie D'Angelo. Known by his middle name Micah, he would grow up to become not only a musician in his own right, but also a key creative collaborator with his father, ultimately taking on the role of producer for Willie's most recent musical projects. Micah's stage name has one of the most endearing origin stories in the Nelson family. He performs under the moniker Particle Kid, which came about through a humorous miscommunication with his father. According to reports, Willie was trying to refer to Micah as his prodigal son, but accidentally said particle son instead. Rather than correcting the mistake, Micah embraced this accidental nickname and eventually adapted it to Particle Kid for his musical career. This story perfectly captures the playful relationship between father and son and shows how even Willie's verbal slip-ups can become part of the family's creative legacy. Like his older brother Lucas, Micah inherited the family's musical talents and began developing his own artistic voice at an early age. He started releasing music under his Particle Kid persona in 2012, creating a sound that was distinctly different from both his father's country music and his brother's rock-influenced style. Micah's approach to music has been more experimental and alternative, allowing him to carve out his own niche in the music world while still maintaining connections to his family's musical tradition. Throughout his career, Micah has collaborated with Willie on various projects, including contributing to the 2022 song American Life. On this track, Willie provided writing, vocals, and musical composition, while Micah brought his own creative perspective to the collaboration. This type of intergenerational musical partnership has become a hallmark of the Nelson family's approach to music making. In 2019, Micah announced his marriage on Instagram, sharing this personal milestone with his fans and marking a new chapter in his personal life. His marriage represents a stabilizing influence as he continues to balance his own artistic pursuits with his ongoing collaborations with Willie. The most significant development in Micah's career came recently when he took on the role of producer for Willie's 76th studio album, Last Leaf on the Tree, which was announced for release on November 1st, 2024. At just 34 years old, Micah was entrusted with helping to shape what would become another chapter in his 91-year-old father's legendary recording career. Micah described his approach to producing his father's album as taking a sculptor's approach to the creative process. He explained his methodology to saving country music, saying, "It's an approach that I really love and have used a lot over the years, just throwing the clay down and stepping back, then maybe adding a little more, and then maybe shaving down here, and kind of building the tracks that way." This artistic philosophy reflects Micah's thoughtful and patient approach to music production, treating each song as a work of art that needs to be carefully crafted and refined. The album includes a mix of songs that Willie wrote and co-wrote, along with covers of works by artists such as Warren Zevon, Nina Simone, Keith Richards, Sonny War, The Flaming Lips, and Tom Waits. Micah noted that the album's central theme became facing death with grace. As he explained, "There are little side quests, but that became the through line."